Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 170 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David Howe.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nicely.
Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest returning to the podcast. We got Summer Rain on the show, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going, Summer?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course, as always. Always nice to have Summer on. We have you on this week, Summer, because we're going to be talking all about the future of E3, what it's looking like right now, and then kind of conventions in general, be that Comic-Con just happened, anime conventions, video game conventions like PAX. E3 was just bought by ReedPop, or at least it's being run by ReedPop now. And so we thought we'd take this opportunity to talk a little bit about what the future of that convention might look like, and then just in general, the kind of state of conventions in the modern era. We've also got a lot of news and rumors to talk about in today's episode. Mario Strikers got an update. And more updates are coming, as we've heard. Nintendo's got a dongle problem, so don't look too deeply into that.
Excuse me?
Yeah, that's right. We got a couple rumors about release dates, including Advance Wars and maybe F-Zero. Probably not. And lots more. But before we get into that, how's everybody doing? How are our weeks this past week?
Been very chill. Been playing lots of video games this past weekend. All good here. David, I like your hat.
Thank you. Yeah, rocking the Omega Mart Meow Wolf hat. Very excited about that. You saw they did confirm that they're opening up 2 Texas locations.
Hell yeah, I did. I can't wait.
Yeah, Houston and Grapevine.
Houston, yeah.
Yeah, very excited about that. You were right on the money about that Grapevine Mills leak that you heard before.
Yeah, baby, I'm in on the Meow Wolf news.
We break all kinds of news on this show, not just video game related. Yeah. What about you, Patrick? How are you?
I'm all right. I'm up and down, man. This is not the summer of Patrick, but it's okay. It's
Really?
almost over. Yeah.
Summer of the Steam Deck, though. How's that Steam Deck treating you?
Yeah, I got the Steam Deck. I really haven't used it as much as I would like to. So I honestly, I haven't played around with it very much, but I played around with it and got my game that I'm working on it, and that felt really great. And it honestly was like, if nothing else, I was like, man, this game is a great handheld game.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like I should target the Switch.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like, and the Steam Deck best on deck or whatever, like try to really make it optimized for those experiences.
Get that shit verified. Yeah. Very good.
Patrick, you said it wasn't the summer of Patrick, but maybe the fall of Patrick.
Oh, the fall of man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But I meant the season.
It's not the
not
summer
Right,
of
there's
Patrick,
always
but it
an
is the fall of man.
Oh boy.
You're not. Where's the lie? Where's the lie there? Yeah, I'm doing pretty good too. I saw 2 movies this past weekend that I really enjoyed. I saw Nope, Jordan Peele's new movie, which I loved so much. I'm a big UFO guy, so I love that kind of like style of film. It's a very Spielberg-y film, I thought. I think this is his best movie yet. And then I also saw Marcel the Shell with Shoes on Sunday. Oh, it was just beyond adorable and heartbreaking and lovely and hilarious. Great film. I recommend everybody see that as well.
I was at a bar during the Fallout meetup, and someone was trying to pitch Marcel the Shell to me, and we were having a wholesome conversation about which is more wholesome, Paddington 2 or Marcel the Shell with Shoes on.
That's a tough. I'd love to see them box. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And the box are just repeating nice words back to each other. No, you're pretty. No, you got a nice jacket.
Yeah. I like your shoes. What about you, Summer? How's your week?
It's been good. I am very relevant to our topic for today. I'm getting into what we call crunch mode for cosplayers, working on some cosplays. That was most of my weekend, was cutting out patterns. And I can, as of today, officially announce, also related, that I will be performing for a convention that is local to me, MiracleCon in Oklahoma City. They raise money. They are partnered with Extra Life. So they raise money for Children's Miracle Network. And I will be doing a video game concert at that event.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is also, I am preparing currently my set list for that coming up at the end of August. So
Awesome. Congratulations. Yeah,
thank
that's super
you.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're in Oklahoma City, make sure to check that out.
That was called MiracleCon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, last week's episode was on Nintendo acquiring what is now known as Nintendo Pictures, and we had some fun with some movie pitches, some ideas for Nintendo movies, and we got some nice comments on our YouTube channel. Record2 said that Nintendo buying up every studio and dissolving them. Love it. That was a joke we made.
Yeah.
The Big JP appreciated the call, our shout out, and they've been playing a lawn mowing simulator. This is a reference to us talking about power washing simulator for longer than they'd like to admit. And then Tommy on YouTube said that they are here for Toad to Perdition, which I think also got some comments from DCD in our Discord. Like, everybody loves Toad to Perdition.
Yeah. It was great having Chris McKeever on. It definitely did start a lot of a discourse in the old Discord over there. I know there were a lot of comments, Summer, that you made on the show as well, which were super fun to read.
Yeah, if you weren't here, we could talk about, we would give you a shout out for sure on the Fire Emblem stuff.
Yeah. But I do think a Fire Emblem musical sounds like an excellent idea, Summer. Also.
I want a Fire Emblem musical TV series, right? Because it's too much to put into a stage production. It's too much to put into a movie.
Yeah.
Right? You can do it the justice it deserves, I feel like, with
what
TV series.
TV show musicals are there other than like Glee?
Gallivant, which is exactly where my ideas come from for Fire Emblem. I want the same director.
There's that one on, what's the recent one with a couple comedians? It's something really weird, like Shadoinkle or something.
Yeah, Saskatoon or something like that.
Yeah, there's that one too. Which is
the
an
Apple,
interesting show.
The Apple Plus.
Cicely Strong's in it.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
Keegan Michael Key, who plays Toad.
Yeah. Toad to Predict. Will he play Toad in Toad to Prediction?
Schmigadoon.
It's a spin-off. Schmigadoon. That's
Schmigadoon.
It. Yeah.
That's just the only other one I can think of.
That's ridiculous.
Anyway, we got to move on. If you're listening to this episode and you have any thoughts about conventions or anything we say, we'd love to hear from you. So do send us a note. And we also would love to have you share the podcast somewhere online or leave us a review. And also, we appreciate it when folks like and subscribe on YouTube.
We love that.
Love it. And then we're going to talk about our Nintendo and gaming news and rumors this week. First up is some updates. Like David said, Mario Strikers Battle League, the new Mario Strikers game, got its first free update this past week with the addition, in particular, of Daisy and Shy Guy as characters to the game. They also added some new gear, the night set, and then they added a desert ruin stadium. I've played with all these elements a little bit, except for the night themed gear. I actually have not yet tried that out, but yeah, it's nice to have some new characters. I don't know that it changes the core game that much, but more characters is fun.
Yeah. Everybody was right on the money when they said Daisy was going to be the first free DLC ad, right? That wasn't terribly surprising, but it's cool to see regardless. You like to see that.
Yeah. And then it's nice that they have given us some clarity on the updates going forward. They have said that 2 more updates are coming. And in particular, I believe, I actually don't have the tweet where they said this in front of me, but I think they said with more characters, gear, and stages. So
no mention of modes.
No mention of new modes doesn't mean it's impossible, but they're telling us this. I wouldn't expect anything other than what they said. Mm-hmm. And if there is, we could be pleasantly surprised, but yeah. So we'll see what those further updates are later in the year. And Nintendo Switch Sports is receiving an update. It should be live by the time this podcast is out, but it isn't as of the time of us recording, right? And I think this is adding in the leg strap mode in the soccer, right? And apparently some new moves in volleyball, is what I read, and then like a new way to play with your friends, which I don't quite understand. Maybe David, you could help.
Nah, I wish I could. That was actually something I was gonna look up earlier. I was trying to see if I could figure it out right now before you got to me.
Gotcha,
But yeah,
sorry.
I know it's okay. I know that there are like friend code rooms that you can create. So I might be wrong on this, but I have to imagine that that means that it'll be easier to almost like matchmake online rather than just, or maybe what that also means is that you could put a code up on a stream or something and have people join your stream without being your friends, right? Something kind of like that.
Yeah, maybe like room IDs is what the like Nintendo page says. So that sounds like something you could hand out to anybody. Yeah,
probably. What I wish it was a way to, well, like an easier way to squad up with other people to both earn points as you play online, right? Because I think the main problem I have with Nintendo Switch Sports is I want all the cute outfits, but I'm not about to commit 20 hours a week to Switch Sports. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, it gets a little old just constantly playing the same game over and over again. So we'll see. But it's nice that they added the leg strap thing that I don't think I'm ever going to use. But I think this is kind of just like a stepping stone till the fall update when we get golf. I think that's going to be what really brings a lot of people back. Are any of you guys still playing Switch Sports? Anybody? When's the last time you fired up Switch Sports?
It's been a minute. I talked about
a couple
doing
weeks
it
for me.
with my kid, but we haven't done it. We were like, oh, that might be a good thing to do, but we just didn't do it.
Yeah. I've been playing soccer over at my friend's house, but just because she just likes to watch me play soccer. Not with anybody else, just by myself online on her TV.
In the dark.
No, the lights are on.
Oh,
come on, Patrick. I'm a gentleman.
Oh, boy. Well, also, Nintendo Switch Online is getting an update, and this is the core NSO service where you have access to NES and SNES games. There's a couple of new games being added. In particular, it is for the Super Nintendo, Kirby's Avalanche and Fighter's History. And then the NES game is something I'm not really familiar with, something called, correct me if I'm wrong, how you pronounce this, Daiva Story, Imperial of Nursartia. I don't know what this game is.
Yeah, I think you had it at the beginning there pretty well. It kind of started to fall apart.
And then when I got to Imperial Nursartia, like an early NES game that probably never came to America, is my guess. I don't really know a lot about this. Do you?
All I know about that Daiva game is that it is in Japanese. It's like it's an actual Japanese release that they just put out on the American NSO.
Weird.
Yeah.
That they do that here, but not with all these other ones.
Yeah. This is the first time that I don't know if this is the first time, but this is the first time in a while that the American and Japanese NSO game drops have been identical. We usually have some stuff that only came out here. They usually get some stuff that only comes out there. Kind of like Pokemon Puzzle League, never came out in Japan. We got that the other day. But yeah, it's also weird because Puyo Puyo for the Super Nintendo, we got that in Japanese, but now we also just got Kirby's Avalanche, which is just Puyo Puyo with a Kirby skin. So it's pretty weird, kind of unremarkable drop.
Was Kirby's Avalanche also US only in the same way that Pokemon Puzzle League was and they reskinned it?
I don't think so. If so, that's weird because that means the Japanese NSO just got an American only game.
Oh, okay.
Because they also got it, but I don't know. That's a good question.
So they didn't get Pokemon Puzzle League then?
That was a US only release. Yes. Right. Yeah. Because it was so like intertwined with the anime and the American voice cast and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
NSO is very Nintendo. That's all you can say, right? I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah. I mean, we got another Jaleco game, right? So it's like, it's like clear. It's just Natsume and Jaleco. Like we're just getting all of their catalogs and that's it. Like if you want to know what games we're getting next, look at what Super Nintendo games have not yet been released from either of those two publishers.
Daiva, just generally, I was looking up. it's the one coming to Nintendo Switch Online is the 6th one. The other games, there's the 7th one too. They're on different platforms, including some on computer systems from the 80s, like MSX and MSX2. Like they are games about the same war told from 7 different perspectives, so they connect to each other from a story perspective. But they use a password system, and the password system will continue the story based on where you play. So if you wanted to play 7 on Nintendo Switch Online, but also maybe wanted to emulate some of the other ones on, say, MSX, you would use the password.
Yeah, it was weird. I did notice in the trailer for this, it was like, use this password, and then just showed some random hiragana in Japanese.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, I guess I'll type that in. Super weird stuff.
Weird. Also weird is that Nintendo has put out an announcement that one of their old Wi-Fi dongles from back in 2005, which was related to the Nintendo DS to get internet for the DS, I guess. They've put out notice that you should stop using that. How many people do you think are actually? We can get into why. I guess it's probably pretty clear why. If you know much about computers, it's like a security risk, right?
No, it's because they're being used exclusively for mining cryptocurrency.
Yeah, they don't want their Nintendo name on that. But I guess that's a good thing they did that, right? I mean, I guess there's people. Do you like what is the like box of people that are using this, and the box of people that have seen this news? I feel like if you're using a Wi-Fi dongle that's from 2005, do you follow current tech news? Like, are you likely to see this?
I don't know. I get it. Like, I'm the kind of guy that likes to just wear out his shit until it doesn't work anymore and then move on to the next. Like, if I still had a Nintendo DS Wi-Fi dongle that was still working in my house with fiber internet, sure, I would definitely. I don't know. I think it's good that they did it
fair.
anyway.
If you're still using like original hardware for the DS and that sort of thing. But
did you already say that this dongle is only available in Japan?
No, I think that's a different one. There's another one they said that too, right? Or is it this one? Both of them. I know that like there's another one from 2008 that's also covered by the.
Oh, okay.
That's also part of this warning or whatever.
Well, PSA to all the Switch heads out there. We know you guys are still using this dongle. You guys are the Nintendo diehards. You're not going to get Wi-Fi any other way. You need to have the branding slapped on it. Throw it away. Throw it in the trash. Rip it up. Burn it. Okay, because you're about to get hit by some malicious malware.
Mm-hmm. When I see these notices, these are just as much for consumer awareness as it is to protect the company.
Oh, it's all liability. Yeah.
Yeah, all liability. Yeah.
But moving on, there's been a little bit more rumor talk about the Advance Wars games, Advance War 1+2 reboot camp that was delayed in part because of the war that's happening in Ukraine. And I guess that some folks have seen on what is it, like a retailer's website, that it might come out in February next year. But that could just be random, right? I guess.
Well, you know what it is? It's the 1-year anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Is that date really that?
Quite literally. It's, I think, the February 23rd is what it said.
So they're like, it'll be old news.
Or just 1 year to the day. So this could be something that was like from Nintendo. So people got some emails about it, I think, like at retailers from Nintendo. But I'm not sure if that's just placeholder or if that's also just somebody making an assumption on like, surely 1 year after Russia invaded Ukraine, we could put this game out again, right? So it's like, it's a little weird, this news story for sure, but this has been making the rounds.
Yeah. And then even, I don't know what you'd call this, even more bullshit rumor, but we're talking about it because it involves F-Zero. I read this, but you're gonna have to explain this to me. Like, it's something like some alleged leaker went on Switch Force, right, which is like a YouTube Nintendo channel.
Yeah, and not to bash other Nintendo content creators, but Switch Force is that's a clickbait.
They're rumor mill kind of anything
totally.
That's like just low level rumor like this might get a lot of attention, and we're giving it attention.
Yeah, but that's because I love the franchise.
We're picky about our bad rumors.
Spit it out, get it out, guys. Come on.
Yeah,
they said something in like binary code or something like that on this like video or whatever, and I guess if you spell it out, it's YGBP.
You got boost power.
No, that's what they're going off of.
Yeah.
And
This leaker is named Silex Hunter, by the way, which is really funny because Samus Hunter is a notorious Twitter leaker that gets tons of stuff wrong and nobody believes. And Silex is like the bounty hunter that like hunts Samus in those games. So he goes by Silex Hunter, this leaker. So this is probably just a bunch of kids having fun on Twitter.
I was just about to say, these kids need different hobbies. Like,
but basically, people think that because of this, that there might be an F-Zero thing coming. Silex Hunter claims to have information, says temper your expectations, but yes, something F-Zero related is in the works. What do you guys think about that?
What could that mean? Yeah, like let's assume that this is all real, and if somebody were like, "Oh, it's a new F-Zero game," you're like, "Whoa, hold on. Yes, you're right. It's F-Zero, but maybe don't.
But maybe it's a movie.
Too excited.
That's
a
also
movie.
Yes, yes, a movie that's entirely on foot.
Exactly. Don't get
A tie-in or a remake instead of a new game. I guess would be like some less like temper your expectation things. Maybe
F-Zero content added to the Mario Kart Deluxe expansion.
Yeah,
something kind of like that. Maybe
right. More F-Zero courses,
tracks. Mm-hmm.
Which I would be into. Those are some of my favorite courses in Mario Kart 8.
Yeah,
but either way, I hope this is true. I wanted to put this in the news just because I love F-Zero so much, and I wanted to say you got boost power on the show. But I just want Nintendo to at least be I just want them to remember that this franchise exists. They just put out F-Zero X on NSO, and I just hope that that's the start of at least some F-Zero shit coming out in the future.
And then up next, we got some news out of gamesindustry.biz's Christopher Dring said that the new Kirby game, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, is the most successful Kirby game in the UK, and I believe that's physical sales, because that's what the information that they can track. Not terribly surprising. I mean,
the Switch effect strikes again.
Switch effect, yes. And closing us out with some not directly Nintendo related news, but just some interesting things that have happened this week. Discord is going to be coming to the Xbox. So I guess you're going to be able to have Discord voice chat on your Xbox soon, or at some point. I guess there's some maybe like beta of it right now, but it's going to be available at some point, which is great. Right? Like, I mean, Discord has kind of become a big gaming, way to talk to each other, and people use that instead of in-game talking. So it's why not?
I guess I don't really know what the benefit of using Discord within a game in Xbox would be, other than just partying up using Xbox Live voice chat. Like what would you?
Probably the specific Discord servers that you're in, right?
And maybe like if it's a cross-platform game, you could do it through
Oh, okay.
console.
I just know like a lot of games will just allow in-game stuff anyway, right? It's really only Nintendo that doesn't, right?
Or they're the ones that need the Discord integration.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But,
yeah, I guess it's just like I just know like my cousin does a lot of PC gaming, and instead of using whatever game it has, they just use Discord, and so I guess theoretically, if you were playing on a cross-platform game, it might be easier. I don't know.
It
Stuff like
definitely
that.
would be cool to have like Discord as an app on the Switch, right? Like running in the
Yeah.
background. Like that would make it so much easier to just have everything through your system rather than, and mic on your headset or whatever, playing handheld on the Switch rather than having your phone and all this other stuff hooked up at the same time. That definitely would be better, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know the exact use cases, but yeah, I agree with that for sure. And then, unfortunately, Square Enix has, I guess, given some details on its NFT project or projects, which I don't really fully understand this thing, but it's like you're going to be able to buy, or you are now able to buy a physical action figure that comes with a code for an NFT, and there's going to be trading cards that also come with NFT stuff, and that these characters and stuff are from Square games that you may like.
It's amazing to me how vocal a lot of big, like, especially Final Fantasy fans have been about, please don't do this. And here they are, like, not listening to fans.
Yeah.
Who have said, don't do this. And it makes me think that the whole tying it to physical merchandise, because people will buy the physical merchandise, i.e. the $13,000 Terra figurine.
I was just going to say, maybe this will offset the cost of that $13,000.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Final
Maybe they
Fantasy
didn't
VI
sell enough
statue.
of those.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, jeez.
Grimes only bought one. They were expecting her to buy a lot more.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a
upsetting.
bummer.
Yeah. No, this stuff continues to go on, and it's like I don't think people are taking the hint, right? It's like crypto plummeted, continues to plummet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not doing
Hello,
super
can
great
we
right
go?
now, right? Yeah, exactly. And Sony has to actively come out and be like, hey, these digital collectibles we're talking about in our thing are not NFTs. We know you guys hate those. You know what I mean? Like it's not blockchain related, so it's like, I'm just always dumbfounded by these companies that double down on this shit and decide to put so much of their stock into it. Right. I just don't understand. And I want to go home, guys. I want to get off.
Yep.
Mr. Crypto's wild ride.
Yes. Well, on that somber note, that closes out this section of the show, and we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking all about the new E3 coming next year and conventions in general. All right, we are back, and this week we are talking about gaming conventions, and in particular, we're going to be talking about E3 and the news early this month that ReedPop is going to be getting involved with E3, and it's going to be coming back in 2023. And then we're going to maybe, spiral out from that to just kind of talking about gaming conventions and what it's like and why you
fandom conventions in general.
Yeah, gaming adjacent conventions, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Big ones, what you might want to do with them, that kind of thing. But we'll start with this news item that happened at the beginning of the month. So we know that E3 didn't happen this year. And there's a lot of, there's been talk for a long time about maybe E3 just going away, but there's been a flag planted that they are coming back in 2023 at the same place, the Los Angeles Convention Center, and that ReedPop is going to be, managing it, taking over, whatever you want to call it. So what is ReedPop? Does anybody have a good answer to that question?
They're a fandom events company. They are filed for profit. So they are doing it, with the intention of putting on good shows, but making money from putting on good shows. And because they bring in that kind of money, they're able to have their hands in a lot of different industry pots. They are probably better known for a lot of their comic conventions, specifically Emerald City Comic Con and C2E2. But they also own Penny Arcade Expo, which is when they started doing the PAX branding. So they are familiar with, running video game events, because a lot of those same people are going to be on that team. But that's what they boil down to. Yeah, fandom events company.
Yeah,
Very
they do some
nice.
other licensing stuff too that I was unaware of, like Minecraft Festival and Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah,
That's
they're
right. Yeah,
they're
Star Wars
eclectic.
Celebration.
They're all over the place with what they own, because they also apparently do a lot of like journalist websites, like both in gaming and elsewhere, and just lots of different.
I think GameIndustry.biz is owned by ReedPop
what you guys
as well.
just mentioned. Yep.
They own Digital Foundry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's kind of wacky.
Yeah. It's kind of weird to think about. It just reminds me of like Ziff Davis or whatever, like back in the era of like gaming magazines, right? It was like, Ziff Davis would own like EGM, and then, GameStop owns Game Informer and all that kind of stuff. And so it's, just a company with a lot of stuff in the nerd pie, a lot of fingers in the nerd pie, right?
Right. They don't specialize in any one specific thing.
Right.
So that helps with an understanding of what ReedPop is, but nobody knows this, so this is more speculation, right? But like, what are the implications of this, of ReedPop taking over E3? Do we think that this means they're going to try to do E3 just as it was, but better, or do we think that they're going to try to dramatically change it? E3 has changed a lot over the years. It started out as a trade show for the industry, and then it has kind of slowly become more of a fan event, with still some trade show elements, and then also has kind of turned into this sort of gaming announcement, like Nexus thing that happens. What do y'all think? Do you think that they're going to try to rock the boat and mix up what E3 is, or just kind of like continue where it left off?
I don't know. I am curious about this mostly because every event that ReedPop has in their portfolio are almost always fan events, with the exception of one event. They have GameIndustry.biz Investment Summit, which
that's
is just
still just a parallel event to PAX. They
Tot-
host that along, like at the same time. It's basically you get to go to that if you're going to PAX, so it's still like tied to it.
Is it more for like industry professionals though? Like
it's
okay.
almost like a GDC like substitute,
adjacent,
basically.
yeah.
If you're going to PAX, oh well, here's this networking event that you can also go to while you're here.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So if their services are like they're a product, then they do make fan conventions is their deliverable. So
Right.
if they're trying to build a new product base to raise money or for to build interest for the industry, then I think what we've talked about before is a blending of both a fan convention and an industry convention at the same time.
Right.
Maybe some like how they do at South by Southwest. They have 2 days of interactive kind of events, which is all about corporations, and then maybe 2 days of fan events.
Right. Or like EDU as well. They've got that part of South by with the kind of educational stuff. I mean, even pre-COVID, E3 has been in a state of flux now for the past 5 or 6 years, right? Because it wasn't, it was only recently that they started allowing fans in the first place, right? And from what I understand, I've never been to E3. I don't think any of us have.
That's a lie. I've been there, baby.
Oh yeah, you have been there. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were there when you were a QA tester. Very good. Okay, so fuck that. Don't listen to me. But what I'm saying is,
Can I ask what year that was that you went?
Oh man, I would say 2004, 2005, Xbox 360 era.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So far, long before they started letting the public go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew a friend who was working in advertising, and she got me in.
Gotcha.
very good. Yeah, and we were gonna go. We here at Super Switch Headz. Yeah, we got press badges as distinguished members of the gaming press to go in the year of our Lord 2020, and we all know how that turned out. So we didn't end up going, obviously, but I think that from what I understand, it's been more and more frustrating to go as a member of the games industry or the gaming press to this event, right? Like everybody that you hear talk, you hear horror stories from E3 about waiting in line for 3 to 5 hours to play 10 minutes of a Nintendo game, right? Now, if you're a member of the gaming press and you're trying to get coverage for whatever your publication is or channel or whatever, having to kind of fight against fans going to play these games is got to be kind of frustrating, right? It kind of defeats the purpose of the event from a journalism standpoint, right?
Oh yeah.
But then also, it also makes sense that they would want to open it up to people because it is such, it's like hallowed ground when the game, from the history of gaming, everybody's always wanted to. I remember as a kid always seeing E3 and being like, someday I'm going to be able to go to E3, right?
Mhm.
And like it was like a goal of mine, right?
Yep.
And so it's hard for me to imagine ReedPop not making this a fan event still, even though they've kind of said that they want to get it back to being an industry event, right? What do you guys see this turning into with ReedPop at the helm?
I think what Matthew was describing is kind of on the nose with what I would imagine it being, because a lot of fandom events will still have their industry guests doing their like big presentations, their big world premieres. A lot of those happen at a lot of big fandom events. So I could still see that being a big part of it. My question is then in how they are going to, like you were kind of talking about, prioritizing folks being able to get into some of those events. Like, are they going to be separate ticketed things, which is also not, like an uncommon thing. Like raffles are not an uncommon thing. It looks like that was actually kind of the plan for 2020 anyway. They were doing, you could get like additional passes that were going to get you to like to the front of the line, which again, like gold and platinum passes are also not like an unheard of thing for conventions to do.
Like the Genie Pass at Disney World or something like that.
The Fast Pass,
yeah.
So, but my question is, how much of like fan immersion are they planning on? Which leads me to thinking about, like, in my experience with PAX, of how some industries will set up different like entertainment at their booths, that's like immersive to get you to like have more of an experience there. I think about specifically like the Resident Evil truck, right? Where they told you like to put a change of clothing in your backpack because of how scary it was, like walking through one of those. So I'm wondering about, I think that might be the direction. That's where my brain is going, is I think that's what they're going to try to push for, is they're going to want these gaming companies to come up with like bigger, more immersive experiences related to their IPs that you would then wait 5 hours to go experience, like
Right.
like a portable theme park almost, right?
So you have these big activations at 2023's E3 for these big releases. That makes sense. I mean, if it sounds like it's following the model of San Diego Comic-Con, which happened this past weekend, which had these big activations for Severance. They had these big announcements for Marvel Studios from the animation and live action side. That'd be cool. That would incentivize both the industry to invest tons of money into ReedPop and E3, as well as the fans want to take part of these big activations.
Side note, but how good does that Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer look?
It's so good.
That was a hell of a trailer, right? I was like tearing up. I was like, damn, dude. I didn't even love that first Black Panther movie that much, but I was like, I'm going to that right away, dude. That looked amazing. But anyway, yeah. I mean, would you guys want to see it become? What would you guys think if they took the fan element out of it and made it just an industry event again? Do you guys think that would be a good step forward? Do you think that would be a step back?
I think people are so in love with the fan experience anymore that I think it would be a step back, because that was already the direction that they were headed in the late 2010s. Cosplayers had already started, like, literally like the day they announced it, like that's when cosplayers were like, all right, this is it. I am doing the biggest build I can imagine.
The new frontier.
That seriously, and then that was my first thought too, right? Like
Right.
I wasn't like back then I wasn't going to be able to afford it, but I remember thinking like, oh, this is going to bring out like the big guns, like people that that do like massive builds are going to be going to this. And ReedPop at their other events, they do like crown cosplay championships, which is part of like a more like national and international competition. So I easily see them doing something like that as like the fan side, because people eat that up. It brings in money.
Yeah. So Summer, for speaking from like a cosplay perspective, Dragon Con is like the biggest cosplay convention where people like have these large builds for any kind of media, whether it be games, TV, or movies.
Right.
And where, if people are bringing big builds to E3, would they prioritize E3 over big builds for like San Diego Comic-Con?
It's gonna, because of the press coverage that at an event like E3. E3 is already so long standing, and if people are gonna think, oh, I might be able to get in front of some press that haven't actually gone to a lot of other kinds of fan events, and everybody from every corner is going to be here. And most of the more like complex builds you can think of come from video games, right? Like people cosplay from everything, but anything that has like tons of ridiculous elements, that's coming from video games. So you're already in the correct space for it. And now you've got, all these journalists that have been going to this for a long time that maybe also haven't been going to those other events. So it's a new thing for them to get to report on. So they're going to be excited to see you no matter what. Now I'm thinking about, how am I going to budget to go? What am I going to build?
Yeah, if Hideo Kojima sees me in a great cosplay, maybe he'll put me in a
movie.
Next game. Yeah.
He'll hire me. Yeah. And that happens though. Blizzard used to do that with their convention, that they would specifically hire builders to make certain builds. And I definitely see that continuing to be a thing, because a lot of industries would get people to do that. You mentioned Dragon Con. I've had friends that have gotten hired specifically to make builds for Dragon Con, to advertise things at that convention specifically. I could see that happening at E3 as well, especially with the way a lot of games now are actually just releasing like all of the costuming files now, and like what they think certain things are. They're not always exactly like what they should be, but they're giving us high-res files now, like on day one, like when trailers are released, like not even the game is released. So that way, for those of us that are psychotic, we can get to work on it immediately. Like,
right, yeah. Like you said, it's free advertising, right? Somebody walking around as a character from this game that isn't even released yet. That's going to build up hype. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I guess just to kind of like circle back to the idea of like what we think E3 might look like. Like, what do you think is the solution to that kind of trade show versus fan event thing? Like if they're not going to abandon the fan event thing, which I think we could assume they wouldn't if it's being run by the people who run PAX, right? Or Star Wars Celebration, which is like such a huge fan event. Like what? Like do you just extend it? Do you have press only days? Because I know they kind of do that now, right? It's like that first day, or maybe it's just like hours, right? It's like early in the day, all the press comes in before they open the doors to the public. Should they kind of extend that more? Do you think that like, Or do you think I'm overblowing it? Do you think it's not that big of a deal?
You gotta, if it's an industry event, you gotta give some special treatment to the folks in the industry, and that whether that be 1 day or 2 days or a few hours on each of the day, on each of the mornings, you got to do something.
Or simultaneously running things that are exclusive, right? Like sections, areas. If not, if it's not broken up by time, maybe it could be broken up by space.
That's what my guess was going to be.
Right.
Or both, right? Like,
yeah, probably a combination of those things. Is that a lot of the industry stuff will probably be in its own specific area. And this is the stuff I'm already thinking about is I don't know these venues or hotels or, these spaces that they're utilizing. I don't know what that layout is going to look like. But I can already tell you there's going to be some kind of official shuttle service that they're going to partner with because of the size of it, I'm sure. And
maybe E3 is for press and E4 is for the fans. Watch them do it.
David called it here.
Yeah. I like to throw out one Hail Mary an episode just in case I'm right.
Electronic Entertainment Expo Experience.
There you go. The Expo Experience.
Experience Expo. I don't know.
I want to give everyone a chance. If there's anything else about E3 to say now, not that we can't talk about it later as we close, but maybe we could wrap up E3 and kind of spin out to just sort of conventions and gaming conventions and other kinds of conventions. So yeah, I think it's like we talked about ReedPop and PAX. That's another significant video game / board game convention that happens in a couple different places throughout the world, right? There's PAX East and West, and there was South, and I think there's one in Australia or something. I don't know.
They call it the Down Under.
But those are very fan focused, right? Sometimes there are announcements at some of them and that sort of thing. There's also, GDC, which we talked about, Game Developers Conference. That's very industry focused. It's not really like a trade show, but it's sort of like networking and learning experience for game developers. But you could pay and go to it if you wanted to, but there's not really a lot of like fan content. I don't understand it as it is. And there's more, right? I mean, there's ones in other parts of the world too that I'm not as familiar with, in Japan and Europe and stuff. But
what are some notable ones that you would think about, Summer?
So gaming is a little trickier. PAX really is it for the bigger ones. Gaming is usually a major focus at anime conventions specifically. But as far as gaming focused, and we had some fun ones here in my state, but they, for one reason or another, they, kind of petered out, or they have a harder time, I think, because they get kind of beat out by the big packs. So it's hard for those smaller ones. But you see a lot of, I'm seeing it a lot more commonly at anime conventions. They will have indie dev, they'll call them Indie Dev Alley, or they do designate, a specific part of the show floor for indie developers. Anime Central, I went to that earlier this year, and they had a big Indie Dev Alley. San Japan is coming up, and they are accepting submissions for it through the end of this month. If you're listening, you're a developer, you want to set up at that, got a little bit of time.
You got to get somebody to draw the guy from Monochrome Heights in a Segoi style. Yeah.
There's lots of little ones, right? I mean, like Austin, where we're based, there's Classic Game Fest, which just happened. This weekend. It just happened. It doesn't interest me as much because a lot of it seems to be geared towards buying and selling classic games, and and that's I'm not a retro collector.
You guys have Too Many Games as well, which is another one of those that's kind of in the Northeast. I think Too Many Games is one of those where they do panels and stuff like that, but it's mostly people with their large stock of classic games trying to push them on others.
Sounds like Classic Game Fest, right?
Yeah, totally.
And there's lots of other sort of, narrowly focused gaming ones, but maybe we could talk about, you talked about anime conventions, but like a lot of comic conventions also kind of now feature gaming. Like I remember going to comic conventions when I was a kid in the 80s and like early 90s in Austin. And then, it was just comics then, but now people didn't dress up and stuff, like, at least not that I remember, but like it's how much this has changed, to become a big thing.
For sure.
Something that strikes me.
A friend of mine from college now specifically works with Fan Expo, which is another company. They used to be Wizard World, used to be some of the Comic Cons. It's confusing.
Right.
They're all called Fan Expo now. And he works for them running tournaments at all of their events now, like specifically, like mostly Smash. So like they are being recognized. It is being recognized as like, this is something that brings in people, makes money. We need to have it at our events.
Yeah, and I imagine Evo is kind of like that now too, right? Like Evo is a big tournament, but I imagine there's also like booths and shit like that at Evo, right?
Yeah. I think like it's kind of weird that conventions have all kind of blown up and then all kind of mixed and merged, where a gaming convention might, you know what I mean? Like you might find somebody selling comics or something in a comic convention. You might find somebody hawking games or whatever. It's just kind of
selling little handmade ocarinas. I feel like you see those. I feel like there's somebody selling ocarinas at every convention.
They're at literally every convention.
Yeah.
The ocarina booth.
And then you buy one and then you play it for a couple days with your friends. And then you never do it again.
For me, it's the people in the hotel room next to you have bought one.
Right.
Right. And you're just trying to take a nap and you're like, it's not going to rain. Stop. It's not going to rain.
You're in line at the La Quinta buffet and there's a ocarina playing as you're getting your eggs.
You play the song of free bagels.
But
yeah.
That's actually okay. I know we're like making fun of that, but that actually is one of my like favorite experiences though. It's just like the weird stuff that like, I mean, gosh, I don't understand Demon Slayer. I haven't watched it, but there was a guy that had like this whole like Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins style like instrument set up on his body, and he was just walking from all the hotels playing all these different anime themes, and I'm like, this is what it's about.
Yeah,
that's the fan experience.
This is his time to shine. He holds it in all year, so he can go to the.
Because you can't, you can't do that when you go to the grocery store. Like you can't.
You can, but you really shouldn't. Yeah.
You won't be praised for it there, like you will be at the convention, right?
Summer, I think it might have been you, and if it wasn't you, I apologize, that added this to the show notes, but I'm curious about the differentiation between for-profit and non-profit conventions.
Yeah, I did throw that in there.
What is is that noticeable? Is that something that you...
It's just personally something that I like to geek out about, and I like to take notice in sometimes in the goings-on activities of conventions. So like specifically ReedPop, they are for-profit, whereas the original Comic Con in San Diego is a non-profit. And so like when you make that comparison, it's almost like, okay, so why aren't all of these events, non-profits? Like what is going on here? What kind of like I just like to pay attention to the policy differences that happen at some of those events. And I guess sometimes my own personal experiences with like the events that I tend to enjoy more with like the events that they're able to bring in, I suppose, because you still see a lot of the world premiere and industry like announcements happen at these nonprofits. This is an ongoing thesis. I don't have like an answer right now. It's just something that I like to personally observe when I'm like thinking about going to conventions and seeing like who they're able to bring in. And I guess that's all I have to
show
say
you
about
like, is it like show you like where really they're like, are they really doing it for the fans? Or are they doing it to make money off the fans?
I wonder about that. And that is something to that I do sometimes consider, and this isn't me trying to say that like, oh, well, if they're just in it for the money, that means the event can't possibly be good, because I don't
Yeah.
necessarily agree with that either. But PAX South isn't coming back because I don't think it was profitable enough for them. They couldn't get the industries that they wanted to show up to that under the guise of calling it their more indie focused event. They never treated it the same as the other PAX events, and I'm still bitter about that.
Yeah, me too.
Right. So versus I mean, most of the anime events that I go to are nonprofit. Most sci-fi conventions are nonprofit, and they still bring in a lot of the same kinds, like level of talent, still have all of the big announcements at their events. So it just makes you think.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you seen any of you guys seen the Miss Marvel show? The MCU show.
Oh my God. Yes. And it was the first episode, right?
It's the first episode with Avengers Con that they go to. I was like, man, that actually looked like that'd probably be pretty fun.
I had so many thoughts about it too. I was like, first of all, conventions don't look like this, and if they did look like this, like that would
fog
be
machines
amazing.
everywhere.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. Yeah,
I was like, second of all, if this was actually the event, like there are not nearly enough people here, like like people would. They're
way too
huge.
dark.
Right, there are huge lines. That too. I'm like, I don't feel safe. I cannot be wearing original Ms. Marvel outfit in that not well lit room. And also I was like, how are they calling this? Like, I was like, how is it only an evening? Like, how is it not like a full weekend? Like, surely.
It's the cheap Avengers Con, right? Like, it's the one like in the real one.
Point.
The real one happens in wherever. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That being said, everything there looked high budget enough that I was true. Like, they need to run this all weekend long so they get their money back for everything. For all things. Sorry, but that's my problem, right? As like I'm too immersed in conventions that I'm like I can't enjoy this.
I can't even enjoy this fucking show.
No, that's very true. When you know something about stuff, TV shows usually do not treat it very realistically.
But it was when we first saw her cardboard helmet, though, I was like, that looks pretty good for a cardboard helmet.
I did like her cosplay. Yeah.
Well, maybe we can kind of close out with some discussions about why. Maybe somebody's listening and they've never gone to a convention. Maybe they are curious about why they should go to a convention or what they should do. Maybe there's some tips or some like thoughts on what do we like, or to anybody here, but especially Summer, like what makes you want to go to conventions?
I'll start with the why. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you have some kind of nerdy hyperfixation. So
what are you saying about our audience?
Excuse me.
Well, I am a member of your audience, therefore.
Projection.
Did you want me to talk about this or not? No,
I'm joking. I'm totally joking.
The first time I went to a convention, so it was around 10 years ago. So I've officially been going for 10 years now. And I was in college and I had some friends who had gone and were planning on going to Anime Central. It's the big one in Chicago. And when I learned where it was and how it was like, I was like, oh, it's like 5 minutes from my grandma's house. Like I can stay there, and she'll drive us. I met so many people, and I was so overwhelmed. And there's so many there's something there for everybody. Like if you, and this was back before, now you can go to Target and you can just buy a giant Pikachu. 10 years ago, that was where I got my giant Oshawott, because I saw it and I was like, I've never seen this before. I need to own it. There's a lot of that happens there. But there's a lot of gatherings specifically like to your interests. People will host fan gatherings so you can meet more people that are into, in your area anyway, right? That are specifically into the things that you're into. Industry events where you can learn, like watch the first episode of something, or see a trailer for a game before it goes online, things like that. Did I already say the shopping? The shopping is great. I will spend an entire day just walking and shopping. Um, and the panels. I love going to panels.
Me too.
Something I really miss. Yeah, I miss it about PAX specifically because they loved to bring in educators. Like there were so many people who like focused on or like the intersectionality of gaming and all these different like people focused industries like counseling and education. Like those were my favorite panels to attend. At PAX specifically, but I like to host game show style panels that are based off of my favorite video games, right? I've hosted Pokemon, Animal Crossing, Fire Emblem, Undertale, like game show style where we like are the characters and we bring people up and they have to do all these different like activities based out of the video games. That's an experience. I know we have online communities, but there really is something different about those kinds of experiences in person, right? Like you don't always know when you're buying something online if it's authentic or not, right? And if you're in person, you can like check the serial numbers. You can like play test it. Oftentimes, a lot of folks will have the systems there, so you can make sure that it operates.
Right.
Right. You can check like I love buying like stuffies and figurines, and I can check if I'm there in person, if it's authentic or not. I love supporting artists, like independent artists that like do fan art. That's probably where most of my money goes. For when there isn't official merch, there is an artist making it for you.
You're right too about like, especially when it comes to like shopping and the kind of. I don't know, you were talking about like you buy a Pikachu plushie at Target or whatever now, right? And I mean that was big in the 90s and stuff as well. But nerd culture has become modern fan culture in general, right? You know, it's like it's become so much more mainstream. So it's almost like going to these conventions and finding these individual sellers. That's almost like the source, right? You know, it's like it's going to be like legit shit a lot of the time, or it's I mean a lot of people there I'm sure are opportunists, right? But yeah, many more, and a lot of stuff that's a lot more niche, like whatever the specific thing you're looking for, it's like it's kind of nice. And also I feel like the barter system is alive and well in the convention circuit, right? I feel like a lot of times like you can talk someone down on price, or if you have like if you're going to buy like retro games for instance, you could be like, hey, I've got this copy of like fucking Super Noah's Ark 3D that I would like to, take some of the money off of the price of this, Second Sensu 3 cartridge you have right now. That sounds really specific. Like it's a trade I've made before. It's not. I pulled that out of my ass. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, I just feel like it almost feels like a bit more like base, like a free market than like the modern free market, so to speak.
Totally. Yeah.
I also enjoy the shopping experience and the loose copyright laws followed at fan conventions. I have many pieces.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite pieces that are like up on my wall are like drawings or like watercolors of Squirtle. I have many Squirtle art that I bought specifically at RTX and PAX South.
As long as you're not, the workaround with that usually is as long as you're not using like the official art. Right. As long as it's your like interpretation, that's how a lot of. Yeah,
you just shift the hue knob over slightly and it's like a little bit more blue. I have a question for you, and I hope this is not pedantic or offensive, but what's like after party situation at a lot of these cons? I feel like
I'm actually really glad you asked that. Thank you.
Yeah, because I feel like there's some pretty fun, like off, like not on the official.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
This actually reminds me of this is actually okay. And to go back to the for-profit versus nonprofit.
Yeah, this
is actually a big difference. You don't see as many official late night programming at for-profit events as opposed to nonprofit. Nonprofits have better parties. They have better late night like an official late night entertainment. Nonprofits are where you're going to see like your 18 plus official entertainment, like with industry. That's where you're going to have like your drag shows, your burlesque shows, your hentai screenings. Like that's where
exactly.
you see that a lot more at the nonprofits than you do for the for-profits. And I think it's because the for-profits are trying to do this whole like, we're a family-friendly show and we're a business and we're not going to do those things.
Ruffle any feathers or anything.
Nonprofits are still family-friendly shows. I think parents just understand that, like, because they're in the culture, right? That they understand, well, I'm not going to keep my kid here past 10 p.m., like when that kind of stuff starts.
We won't take them to the slash fiction booth or whatever, right? Yeah.
So, there are some events that are known for, like, they will have certain floors of the hotels as well that are specifically, like, if you want to have room parties. I know Dragon Con does that. And I personally love that because I don't want to stay on a party floor. I'll stay in the same hotel and be on a different floor so that way I can go to bed when I'm ready to go to bed. Right. But I still like being where, the action is happening. And that, yes, having that kind of atmosphere, but with people that are into the same stuff as you hits different because you get to talk about your interests with other people who get it. And that's where ideas like writing a Fire Emblem musical are born.
Right, exactly.
That's where you cast it. Yeah.
It just seems like a good opportunity to like, because it's like, and I don't want to use it's like letting your freak flag fly a little bit, right? It's like especially if you're in a comfortable environment with a lot of people that are into the same super niche, weird shit that you're into.
Yeah.
That maybe you got bullied for all throughout high school or middle school or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, there are all these other like interesting people that just want to like get loose and get kind of drunk at the after party.
Yeah.
And like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like that seems like a really fun environment, especially for people like that. You know what I mean? Like it just seems like a great thing for that.
There's this voice actor, Greg Ayers, who he does a lot of video games and anime. He's also a DJ, and a lot of conventions will get him to do the raves. And I remembered hearing him speak on a panel that was just about like fandom culture in general. And he had said something about how, when he talks to his other DJ friends, they get jealous of his gigs because of the horrible things that happen at just like standard raves because of like the drugs and stuff. And he's like, I love doing raves at like conventions because these kids, they just put on their fox ears and their cattails and they're ready to go. Like that's not to say that there isn't like substance abuse issues, but it's not.
Yeah, I'm sure the people are on Molly at Comic-Con.
But it's not like, it's not like this, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get like drugged. Like that's never been an issue for me. And because of that, like I love raves, and it's not something I would have ever thought I would have an experience of, because I would have never have been comfortable going to just like a standard rave, like outside of a convention. But you go to the convention and they're playing like dubstep, Legend of Zelda songs. And you're just like, yeah, let's do this. So
I am your butterfly.
Yeah, exactly. Like all the stuff you played on DDR. And
yeah.
It's just different. Yeah.
Well, that was a great question, actually.
I'm glad you asked that.
Thinking about what you can do after the convention. Yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else we want to talk about? I think that, we've covered the main talking points. Is there anything else somebody had, about anything we've talked about to close us out, or any final thoughts on conventions? Anything we missed?
I mean, maybe it's not like the sexiest topic to discuss, but I think that we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about why E3 has not been around in the past few years. And I'm talking about the pandemic, obviously. And I think, we're in a world now where we just, we had Star Wars Celebration again this year. We had Comic-Con, we had A-Con, right? Which I think there was a lot of discussion online about how packed, because A-Con was in New York, right? The recent one this summer.
Oh, A-Con?
Yeah.
That's in Dallas. That's in Fort Worth.
What am I talking about? Well, what was the anime convention?
Anime Expo.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Yeah.
That's in LA, right?
Okay, well, whatever. In one of the big cities. It was like it was in LA. It was at the convention center. It's at the same place that E3 is.
Yes,
and it was like,
and I would love to talk about this.
It was packed to the fucking brim.
Even without the COVID issue, they were rating the oxygen levels were dangerous because of how many people were in there and the like inability for airflow, and there were all kinds of staffing issues, and like even like again like there were like fire marshal issues, right? It was just
Mhm.
it was too big. And so this is something I was thinking about with E3 is either they're going to get more spaces and have shuttles going and stuff, or they have got to cap attendance. And Anime Expo is going to have to cap attendance next year. And if they don't, then it's clear where their priorities are,
Right.
because it was dangerous.
Well, I mean, if there's anything that a live events promoter hates to hear, it's capping attendance,
I
right? It's
know.
like, they want to make as much money as humanly possible. And I don't know, I just find that a lot of the people that, we live here in Texas, and it's like people don't really mask here anymore. You see it every once in a while, but that's not
Which
kind of the main thing. And so it's like, but I do know that a lot of people that attend these conventions do, and they're very sensitive about it. And it's like, and they want to do it. And it's like, and obviously, I think that at this point in the pandemic, that comes down to like a personal, to an extent, it comes down to a personal choice. But then a lot of places are mandating it as well. I'm just saying it's become so much more complicated right now in a post-COVID world to put on a big event like this. And every time you see anything at GDC, at Anime Expo, at Comic-Con just happened, you just hear stories of tons of people coming down with COVID and getting COVID at these big events. I'm just wondering, like,
con plague was a problem before COVID.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like people always talked about,
Yeah.
oh, I caught the con plague. Like
yeah, or the
spicier now.
Pax Pox, the fam flu. There's a whole bunch of words for it. But I think I don't know. Like, do you think that we're gonna see? Because it seems like right now, the way that a lot of these people that are putting these conventions on are dealing with it is just like, well, see what happens.
It's tough.
Do you think we see any change in how conventions are run in the future because of this post-pandemic world?
I think it's going to depend. It's going to be event by event. And I think we're going to start to see events that are either going to, I'm going to use the word crumble to like certain kinds of pressures, or they are going to say, we're going to define, this is going to be our audience defining moment. For example, so I'm going to bring up San Japan again coming up. That's Labor Day weekend in San Antonio. And we went last year. They had excellent staffing regarding like masking. They hired a company to take care of making sure that everybody was vaccinated or had a negative test. And yeah, masks were required the entire time. And they had a capped attendance. They are doing the same thing again this year, even though there have been other events that, in Texas that aren't doing those things necessarily. Like Acon in Fort Worth is a good example because they tried to publicize and on all of their socials and on their website, for the past 3 years have made it sound like that they were going to try to be really careful. And I think that was probably the wishes of the organizers. It was just way too crowded and they did not have the staffing to
enforce
it.
Yeah.
Versus with San Japan doing the capped attendance again, that tells me that they're taking it seriously. The way that they reply to people online is always humorous when people try to, say certain things about it. And so like, also then that being said, we're definitely not going to see the like for-profits doing any kind of enforcing unless they're in a city or state that's requiring it.
Right.
That's just how that's going to be probably.
Yeah.
If you're going to see those kinds of things, it's going to be at nonprofits most likely. And I personally like am paying attention to conventions that are because regardless of your like feelings of it in your day to day, I'll say it this way: it's still a massive gathering, right?
Yeah.
When you have that many people in a space,
that's
all sharing the same
almost
air.
Always enclosed, right? It's like, it's not like any of these are ever going to be outside in open air venues.
Not when they're in July in Texas. No. Yeah. Good God. Anime Fest is coming up in it's next weekend at in Dallas.
don't
They're
know.
saying they're requiring masks, like we'll see.
Yeah. And I
It's
mean,
hot.
it's such a sensitive topic on both sides. I think that people that are not even necessarily anti-mask, but just we're like, hey, we're at this point in the pandemic. Do we have to keep doing this? Blah, 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 blah. And then there's the people that are on the other side that like are very adamant about like, well, we need to like be safe if we're in a place where we want to convene, but I want to know that I'm going to be safe and I'm not going to be spreading it. So you've got both sides that I think are very passionate. Right.
I think being like online maybe makes us think that way sometimes too, though, right? Because of how vocal people will be about those kinds of things online. I will say, I know I'm talking a lot about anime conventions. This is like my main experience, but
that's why you're here.
Anime Central required masks and vaccinations. Now they ended up changing it to a negative test, but so many people who probably not as outspoken and were probably on the fence simply because they just don't get whatever information were saying, I got vaccinated for this event because I'm not missing it. And Anime Central, brings in upwards of 30,000 people. I'm like, look at all these kids that just want to see people that like the same stuff as them. They got vaccinated so they could do that. But at this point, now that we've gotten through that cycle of that, I think, David, what you're saying is we're gonna see a divide. I think
it's complicated, right? It really is, and you see it brings out the extremes in people, I think, and I don't know. I guess the reason I wanted to bring it up is just because of all the discourse around Anime Expo in LA, and that's going to be in the same. It's in the LA Convention Center, the same place that E3. They've said that they're keeping it at the LA Convention Center, right? And so it's like just seeing. I mean, I saw the overhead shots. It was like, holy shit! That's a lot of. Yeah. That was like shoulder room for everybody in there, pretty much.
And people tried to say a lot of the shots that got publicized. A lot of people were trying to defend it as, well, that was just moments before they actually opened and people were waiting to actually get in. But then I did see footage from the show floor later on, and like the actual like, oh, this is what the oxygen levels are like in here, and like just fire hazard. It was not awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be an ongoing thing, and I mean it's been enough for E3 not to happen for the past 3 years. It was enough for them to just cancel it outright, pretty much. I mean, they had a digital event to varying success. Right. So we'll see if ReedPop can bring some of their acumen into navigating that harsh kind of.
Because what's interesting, all of the PAX events have required vaccinations and masks, from what I've been able to tell. At least the ones that have happened so far. I need to check on the one that's happening here in a couple of weeks.
Which one is that?
If they are, I think it's West.
Okay, right.
I don't know if that one is for sure. But again, I don't know if that's because of local ordinances or if it's because the founders of PAX still have that much input despite being underneath ReedPop, because I know that all the other ReedPop events are not having those requirements.
Right. Yeah, I think all of these like rules or policies are all also based on like state regulation or state laws. Like just looking at California.
A lot of the for-profit ones,
if you're for profit, you're probably more likely to follow state laws
because you're going to do what makes the most money, right?
Exactly. To protect your product.
Yeah, that makes the state not kick you out, right?
So for like California calls any event that's indoor with more than 1,000 people a mega event, and they have certain requirements for like vaccines.
That's right.
Or a negative COVID test.
Yo, let's make a fan con called Mega Event. That sounds great.
Anime, TV, movies, comics, bicycles, music, books, the custom game controllers, ocarinas, hotels,
clothes.
All right.
I'm just a big hotel fan.
Ghost kitchens.
Let's wrap this one up. That COVID discussion was great, but any other closing thoughts from anybody?
Summer, you just I wasn't sure what E3 would be as far as like a fan convention, but I would love to see these big, huge experiences, these activations at
That's what I want.
a fan event for E3. So if that's, you know, a Resident Evil house, a giant house with Resident Evil you walk through, or maybe we see a sequel of Death Stranding where you actually carry a package from one end of the convention to another.
Yeah.
These large scale activations for these large scale fandom, like what Netflix is doing for Stranger Things.
To tie it back into the podcast, though, I think Nintendo had already headed in that direction. So PAX East in 2020, I think that was in February, and I had a friend who went. Their Animal Crossing, I'm going to call it an exhibit, because they had like giant mascot suits walking around. They had like a whole area that you could walk through that was like a small Animal Crossing town, and you could do like little Animal Crossing activities like fishing. That's what I want. I want to see what Nintendo comes up with for me to walk through. That's
They did the Luigi's Mansion thing at E3. I think on one of the last E3s. Where it was like, a whole haunted house thing that you go into. It's like that shit. I would love to do that, man. I would love to go through like a little mini Super Nintendo world at E3, right?
Awesome. Well, I think that about does it then for our talk on conventions, and in particular E3 and the future of E3. I guess Switch Headz Con win.
Yeah. That's just called coming over to David's apartment and playing Smash.
That we actually recreate your apartment in the convention hall.
Yeah, in a warehouse.
It's all three of your rooms, right?
Yeah.
Like different spaces that you get to walk through.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about the games we've been playing. All right. I honestly, just like the last few weeks, I don't have much new to report. I did get my Steam Deck like we talked about. I just have not had a lot of time. It's not the summer of Patrick. It's the summer of me doing other things.
That's still Patrick.
Yeah,
So
I guess
not-
it's
Maybe it's not the summer of Patrick gaming on the Steam Deck right now.
Yeah, not yet. Though it feels great, and I'm excited to get into it. I just haven't had a chance yet.
What do you feel about like the weight of it? Does that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't done a ton of it, but I think it feels pretty good. Actually, I feel good about it. Like, I did the thing that you have to do. I got my Switches out. I laid them next to it. I looked at it. I held them all.
I thought you were going to say you did the thing you have to do, which is twirl it on your finger like a basketball.
Yeah, that's the thing you got to do. No, like where you're like, okay, let me hold this one. Let me hold this one. Yeah. I think it feels better in some ways because, the thing I thought about with the Switch is like, it's designed in partly for kids, right? Like, I mean, so the Steam Deck is not
tiny
designed
hands
for kids.
Yeah,
I don't have any problems playing the Switch, but like, going back and forth, you can, there's extra buttons.
Yeah. And like
buttons at the bottom.
Sticks, like playing on the Steam Deck, you're like, man, I've been playing with Joy-Cons for the past few years. You know what I mean? You're like, holy shit.
Feels good. Yeah.
Feels really nice. Yeah.
But I'll have to let y'all know more once I actually spend more time on it. But in terms of games, I've just been playing some of the same stuff. Played some more Mario Strikers with Andrew. I've been playing more Smash, and I don't know, playing a lot of Pikmin 3. Actually, quite a bit of Bingo Battle. And stuff like that. So yeah.
BB. Yeah, Patrick, you gotta come. You gotta come by.
So silly.
Bingo Battle. That's
you
what
son of a bitch.
That's what BB stands for.
It was a very funny joke. I just want to highlight.
I mean, literally, I just said the two first letters, man. It wasn't that big.
Hey, listen, I love
good
it.
acronym. Yeah, we breathing over here.
Patrick, though, I do recommend you if you're into it. I mean, A, I just like to hang out with you, but B, you should come over sometime And
I need your wisdom. Like I'm sitting here, like, how do I pull up the keyboard? You know what I mean? I have to go look that up. It's Steam X, you know, stuff like that. Like, there's
and I'd love to show
stuff.
you not just that, but also like getting like EmuDeck installed, so you get your emulators running and like get your classic gaming on.
Yeah, I need a lot of help.
And I'll get you copies of every game that you own legally.
Right.
I'll go next if that's cool. I've been playing a little bit of games. I've been playing a little bit of Tetris, just all sorts of Tetris, because the Tetris World Championships have been going. Classic Tetris World Championships have been going on Twitch. I recommend checking that out. It's like really exciting. Maybe I just love Tetris, and so I'm the only one who cares. But it's like really cool.
You do love it.
It's like but it's cool to watch. The way they have it set up is really cool, and it's like it's actually like really dramatic, like watching these things go down, because you're basically playing based on like score or whatever. And so watching the classic Tetris World Championships on Twitch has got me playing some of that. I'm playing through Sonic Origins. I finally beat Sonic 2 in story mode of Origins. So now I'm on Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And I'm working my way through that. What else? I've been playing this game, this new game that is currently in all access, called X Zodiac. It's like it's Star Fox for Super Nintendo graphics on top of Star Fox 64 gameplay. And I'm playing it on Steam right now because it's in early access, but I know it's eventually coming to Switch once it releases proper. I can't wait for them to add more levels to it. It's a really, really cool game. I recommend that one. I don't think I talked about this last week. I don't think it had come out yet, but I played Stray. And I've been playing Stray quite a bit since that game came out. It's like a puzzle platformer that really feels like a point and click adventure game. You know, it's like very much a series of fetch quests in a row. You're kind of like, you know, give the poncho to this person, so they give you this item, and then you trade that for this. But the whole time you're, you know, navigating very vertically in this kind of cyberpunk dystopian city as a cat. Very cute little kitten who is as of yet unnamed, so I just call him Cosmo because that's my cat's name. And it's a great game. And it's like, and I think it's like a genuine hit, dude. I mean, I'm seeing like all sorts of people. Yeah, all sorts of people are playing this game. This is really crossing the barrier of like gamers and non-gamers. Even a lot of my non-gamer friends are playing it right now, and so it's really nice to see a game like that. I feel like that only really comes around once in a blue moon, that can really capture the hearts of a lot of different kinds of gamers.
So have you modded your cat to look like Cosmo yet?
Not yet, no. In fact, if I am going to mod it, I did see a Garfield mod today that I'm like, damn, I kind of want to do that. Yeah, because it's like the Garfield model from like that 2008 like Garfield game, and it's like, yeah, it looks like shit. I'm like, oh, I need to do that. Bill Murray would be proud. And then lastly, I do want to say I finally started playing Earthbound to have something to talk about at our JRPG book club that we have coming up later at the end of this month, this upcoming Sunday. I think we're all going to be sitting around talking about Earthbound. I'll say, man, I started playing like I've started Earthbound probably like 15 times. You know what I mean? And this is now the farthest I've ever gotten in Earthbound, and I'm still in the early game. I'm in like Tucson right now. But
I was like the same way.
Yeah. I've always wanted to play Earthbound. I love the idea of it, but I just could never get it sunk in me. And now that I actually I'm glad that I streamed it because it gave me an excuse not to just stop playing. I'm now like starting to get the humor. I'm starting to get the like what's fun about it and like what is like silly and sweet and all this kind of like all these like kind of cool elements of the game. I'm starting to understand a little bit more. Anyway,
we have our first meetup for our JRPG club.
Yeah, I'm excited. That'll be fun. And Earthbound. It's a great game and it makes me laugh constantly. It's a really silly and funny game. Anyway, that's what I've been playing this week. What about you, Matt? What have you been playing?
I also been playing Stray. I started on Saturday, finished it on Sunday morning. Quick 4 or 5 hour game. We need more of those. Short, excellent experiences. Mm-hmm. I love JRPGs. I love 60 hour, 80, 90 hour Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but man, I would love more 4 to 6 hour game experiences.
Did you buy it or did you get it through PlayStation Plus? Or
I got it PS5. I bought it.
right.
Yeah, loved it.
Okay.
Just so fun. Just a great game. Highly recommended. Also, if you're wondering if there's a dedicated meow button, there is.
Very much so.
And you could do it during like the cutscenes too, which I did all the time.
You can even do it while napping.
Yeah.
You can take a nap in the game and just lay down, and while the cat is sleeping, he's like, oh.
It's very cute.
It's really cute.
So I've been playing 2 games this past weekend, which are Stray, which I beat, and got in the beta of Multiverses. So I put in, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 hours into Multiverses. Wow. And that's been fun. I think it's in an open beta. So if you like follow people on Twitch, after you watch like an hour of their content, then you'll get access to the beta. It's fun. Their monetization is wild. Monetize everything from characters to skins to they have what the game does great as gameplay, but they all have these like really nice touches where they have special animations for ring outs. And so they have like Porky Pigs. That's all, folks. When you knock someone out, it says, that's all, folks. It's really fun and cute. But everything is like nickeled and dimed, which also means I load up Multiverses and they have a rotating free character list. So only like 3 of like the 10 characters are available. So I like want to play as certain characters online, but some of the characters are only accessible when you play the training mode. Otherwise, you have to spend money or play the game in order to collect points to buy the characters. From a gameplay perspective, it is way different, way floatier than Smash. So it is. It's like switching between Smash and like Brawlhalla.
Does it feel better than Nick All-Stars?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
This game, I was just seeing stuff about it before we recorded. It seems like it's getting some traction.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just the small touches. It's that from the voice acting to like some of the animations feel really, really smooth. And like Bugs Bunny is my main because I'm a Bugs main.
Because you always take a right turn at Albuquerque. Yeah.
Fuck you. It's just like small animations that they do. So like Bugs has some of his special attacks that are different in the air or on the ground. One where he draws a safe and it drops. And there's like an animation where he gets on the ground and like draws it on the ground and like moves away. Like this really close attention to detail based on what the character, which Nick didn't necessarily have. You could tell that Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl had a lower budget. But Multiverses they are spending tons of money in everything from the characters to the animations to the sound effects to the voice acting to new characters that have been announced. Like just this week, they announced LeBron and Rick and Morty at San Diego Comic-Con. So I think it's going to make lots of money.
Yeah.
Are you guys interested to play Multiverses? Does it interest you at all?
I want to beat the shit out of Steven Universe. So yes.
Oh. Is he too positive? Is that why you want to beat him up?
No, it's just that's an ongoing joke online. Is that everybody wants to?
This is news to me. I don't know this joke.
Matt, you got to plug into internet culture, man. You got to plug in.
I'm not in the same circles. The internet's big. It's too big.
It is.
It's not just a big truck. All right. It's a series of tubes.
Okay.
Anyway, Summer, what about you? What have you been playing this past week?
I'm still working through my first playthrough of Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, which it started as I am getting this game because it's Fire Emblem and I don't have a choice. And it has turned into I might be converted and I might like this more than 3 Houses.
Wow.
And let me explain why.
Please explain.
Please leave. What have you done with the real Summer?
Summer's just a big Muso head now.
Yeah.
Well, so and I asked about that in one of the Fire Emblem groups I'm in. I said, I'm really enjoying this game. Like, should I play the old Warriors games? Are there other Muso games I should look into? And I was given like a handful, maybe like 2 games to maybe look into, but for the most part, especially the more like recent ones, like kind of like what you were just saying, like nickel and diming you on every single character and skin because they love their DLC. What excites me about Three Hopes is that they have already included so much in the upfront game that any DLC that they like make will feel like a bonus because this game is so jam-packed. And I was nervous at first because people were like, oh yeah, it'll take you 15, 20 minutes or 20 hours to get through the main storyline in any given route. And at first I was like, oh, okay, like I'll go through and I'll enjoy it and it'll be fan servicey and whatever. I have put 60 hours into it so far. I don't know if I'm on the final chapter of the route that I'm in yet. So
is that one of 3 routes you can take?
Yeah, and every route has 2 directions that it can go into as well. So there's technically 6 different endings. Wow. So at least that I'm aware of, and that's without being too spoilery of like the choices that you make matter. Whereas there was one specific route in Three Houses that you had a choice that really changed things. Every single route in this one, there is a big decision that will change things. And it's like your gameplay in a battle that will determine whether you choose to pursue like a certain side quest or something is what is going to change like the flow of the story. They clearly had more time to work on this. It's made in the same same whatever. Yeah, thank you. Engine as Three Houses, but it looks so much better. So it's like, gee whiz, like Three Houses would have looked like this if they had more time to work on it, like they probably wanted, right? We know like the production calendars and all of that garbage. But the characterizations and the gameplay in this is apparently way more refined than any other Warriors game. The banter that all of the characters have with each other and characters that you wouldn't expect to have banter as well has been really fun. People complained about the monastery stage in Three Houses. Now you have your camp. And there's almost too much to do. I get like overwhelmed sometimes trying to decide like how much time I want to spend in the camp doing all these other things. And delightfully, like Fire Emblem as a franchise has always been known for its fan service. And Three Houses, arguably, other than like the maid outfits DLC, I wouldn't say they had quite as much fan service in it. In Three Hopes, you get to go on expeditions, and that is where you ride horses to your designated location, and you get to look at them and ask them questions and have a conversation. And then if you get a perfect conversation, you observe them in like a similar way that you did like in Tea Time. But it feels a little more, I don't want to say it's quite as close to the petting mini game that we had in Fates, but not quite that bad. But it feels like more fan servicey, but without being like the creepiness that like the petting was in Fates. And like certain characters will.
But it's all horned up and ready to fly.
So my roommates last night were like, "Wait a minute, we need to go through your screenshots," because I was. Like when I was playing on the main TV and like you just Balthus's big barra titties on our massive TV in our living room are just plastered for everybody to see.
That's what they made big screen TVs for,
And I was like, you guys, like this is what we need to throw up on the TV when we start having people over. It's like this is what they see when they get here, so they know what they're in for when they come over.
That's what you get at an after party at a convention.
Yeah. The gameplay is just better than everybody made it sound like it was going to be. That's what I'll say about that.
That's cool. That's good to hear.
It is good.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely getting my money's worth, like for sure. At least that's how I feel with it. Like that's kind of where I was nervous. Like I was worried it was going to not feel like a $60 game. And like I said, I put 60 hours into a singular route that I could have taken a different path in. And like, if I want to 100% this, it's going to take
Forever.
Yeah, it'll take 300 hours.
That's good. Yeah, very good.
Awesome. Thank you, Summer, for coming on and talking with us about conventions. Thanks to MilkyWay.co, who does our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me online, I am Patrick. I am PDYX online everywhere.
Hey, I'm Matthew on Twitter, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Summer? Where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at Weebwitched. Oh, yeah. Twitch, too, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. We're all pretty much streaming on Twitch. Except Matt, you got to start streaming on Twitch again, Matt. I think you should start streaming again.
I don't know. It's taking up my time is limited.
It's a commitment.
It is
It's a big commitment. I don't know if
It is a commitment. I've recently had a couple friends be like, I recently had a couple friends be like, quit the stream of streaming. They're not my real friends. No, I'm just kidding. If you're listening right now, I'm sorry I said that, but also you should feel bad. Anyway, yes, Summer, thank you very much for coming on. Follow Weebwitched on Twitch and Twitter and all that shit. If you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. We are at Switch Headz on Twitter. We got a website, switchheadz.com, and we got a Discord and a Facebook group, both of which are awesome. Make sure you join that Discord, man. The Discord's popping off all the time. What a great place to hang out with people who have like-minded interests and are super cool people on the internet. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it on our episode on E3 and conventions in general. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you tune in next week. Not going to spoil what the episode's about, but it's Xenoblade 3. We're going to be talking all about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 next week. Am I going to play it? Probably not, but Matt is, and he's going to have a lot to say. So make sure you tune in because that's going to be a good episode. Can't wait for it.
But it's not just me. There's other people playing it. There's people all over the world.
It's a popular franchise. They've made 3 of these motherfuckers on the Switch. And we're going to be talking all about that and lots more. So make sure you tune in next week. That's going to be a great one. Other than that, folks, you know the drill. Stay safe out there. Wash your hands. Get the fucking booster shot if you don't have it yet. Go to some conventions. Learn how to sew so you can make cool cosplays and win the E3 competition and get in the next Hideo Kojima game. We love you guys very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.